Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Humanized Values. We've got ourselves another interview. I'm honestly really having fun with these. So this is not at all where I thought I was going to take this, but I'm having a lot of fun having these conversations. And today we have SC Nealy with us. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So we were just chatting a little bit before this. We're gonna have some fun. It's gonna be great. Well, we have an author with us, which is always fun because as an aspiring one, although at this point, who isn't an aspiring author? The difference is those who aspire and those who actually do it. And you've actually done it. So there we are. Maybe
Yeah, a
you'll
couple of
give us some
times.
tips. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so Neely is a therapist, which is how it kind of connected there, but also an owner of an all queer and trans identifying therapy practice in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
So much there, I'm
Yeah.
sure, that focuses on bringing therapists with lived experiences to the LGBT plus population,
Mhm.
specialize in religious trauma work, which we definitely love to chat about. And first nonfiction book, Healing Sacred Wounds, love the title, will be published by Bloomsbury in the fall of next year. That would be
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah.
So we'll post your website there. People can look you up, follow you, and know that the book is not for pre-order yet, but stay tuned.
Soon.
Hopefully it
Yeah.
will be in the next couple of months. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll keep an eye and then I'll make a separate announcement there too. So kind of
That'd be
get that
amazing.
out there. Sweet. Okay. All right. So yeah, therapist. How long you been doing it?
I've been in therapy and in the mental health field for about 16 years now.
Six. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
In different
So
like avenues and different ways, but yeah, about 16 years.
okay. So 16 years and different. Where have you found yourself?
I started working a lot in like residential facilities with more severe mental illness, and then it moved into the eating disorder world for quite some time. Also, usually in like either partial hospitalization settings or residential settings. And I
Okay.
stayed with that for a long time before I moved into assisted living and in home work. And then eventually decided to get into private practice, which is where I am now.
Understood. Okay. And have you always lived in DC?
I have been in the DC area since 2007, so it's where I
Okay.
consider, like, my adult home, basically.
Okay. Okay. So John 7, say 16. So yeah, predominantly your therapy career has been
All of
in
it
in
here,
the
yeah.
heart of politics land. Okay.
Yeah, we do have a lot going on about that here.
A little bit. Just a
Just a little
tad.
bit.
Yeah. Just a little. Okay. All right. So so with your description of your practice,
Mhm.
is it was that an evolved thing that you're like, okay, I really want to make a concerted effort to, you know, support this community, or was that
Sure.
something that from the beginning, or how'd that come about?
Well, I had worked in group practices for some time on my own, and I'd found that it was just really difficult being a queer person in predominantly cishet places and spaces, and so it would require a lot of, like, masking certain parts of myself, or it would require, like, dealing with a lot of tokenization, right? Like, if a client came
Mhm.
in who was anywhere on the LGBT spectrum, it would that client would automatically go to me, or I'd be the spokesperson for, like, the entire alphabet, right? And
Mhm.
that just became harder and harder, and, I really craved being around more of my community, and so I left group practice for a bit to just do solo practice for a while during COVID, which kind of was a natural thing anyways, because everyone was basically in isolation at that point.
Mhm.
But then I just, I'm extroverted and was really lonely. And I was like, oh no, I really do want to be in a group, but I'm a terrible employee. So I'm a much better boss.
Uh,
And so I was like, I don't think I should join one. I should probably just start one. And I definitely excel in that area. Compared to, like, having to work for somebody else. So
yeah.
I was like, "Well, I definitely want something that's all queer and that is the, employees and coworkers that I get to be around for
Hmm.
myself. Like I love going to work all day and getting to just be around queer people all day long.
Yeah.
And I've also found it's just been so beneficial to our clients who are not necessarily all on the spectrum themselves, but we also have a lot of like parents of like trans or queer youth, or we have
Mm.
spouses or people who are somehow adjacent to the community and also just feeling the need to work with a therapist with that identity or
Mhm.
some other specialty that we might hold. So it's been really wonderful to see those spaces come together and also you know in these current times that we're in and where we live in the DC area, it's also become really important to have like a higher level of privacy in therapy. I mean, theoretically speaking, it should be all private, but with
Mhm.
insurance companies and all kinds of things, there's all kinds of ways that your information can get out there. And so
Right.
our biggest priority is giving the utmost level of privacy to our clients, including like private address, not taking any insurance, doing all kinds of ways of like making sure our documentation is as sealed as possible to protect our clients. And we have a lot of clients who are not out in their lives and our invoices show up anonymously. It doesn't say anything queer
Mhm.
related on it. And so we just really focus on, the specific needs our community right now has that can't and doesn't necessarily get met by other places.
Right. Okay. But that starts addressing the next question that was in my head was figuring out like you're in DC. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Right
heart of
outside.
secret land, where people are trying to. I mean, so goes the stereotype, and there's some truth to it. Trying to one up one another and getting dirt and figuring out how to manipulate and get what they need out of people. And so, offering a service that is, I mean, let's face it, based in vulnerability,
Yeah.
is going to be, have its own extra level of concerns in
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah. It definitely is. And we do struggle with a lot of that. Like we get a ton of
Mm.
hate comments online. We get a lot of
Mm.
emails or, Bible verses sent to us quite often, told we're going to hell. A couple days ago, we had a Christian nationalist truck park in front of us that just had a big like sign on the side of the truck about like repent your sins and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
so
Okay.
it can be rough, but
Yeah.
we're we can.
Yeah. Did you go on and like wear, polyester, and therefore it's like, yes, in the Old Testament, this is a problem. Thank you. I'll be
Hair
sure to
purple, be proud.
wear something different. Yeah. Yeah. Get out there, eat some seafood, and
Exactly.
it's just like,
Mixed fabrics,
yeah.
all the things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's go old school
And
here.
after sin.
Right. Yes. Oh, seriously. Okay. Well, and that's, I mean, how many people do you have working, professionally then in your clinic?
I believe we're at 7 right now. We're currently hiring,
Oh, wow.
to try and kinda keep up with the demand. We are,
Hmm.
definitely really busy, and I think that that really speaks to the need in the area right now.
Hmm.
We also focus on being really accessible to everyone because we don't take insurance for privacy reasons, so
Hmm.
25% of everyone's caseload is sliding scale or pro bono, in order to make sure that we're able to meet everybody's needs, and we also partner with other queer or other sorts of minority organizations and nonprofits in the area to
Hmm.
do to have them fund their clients that might need it. So, like immigrants, refugees, sex workers will work with other nonprofits so that they kind of fund the therapy for those clients who might not be able to afford it themselves, and they are able to like respect our need for privacy.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of ways we can work around to make it still really accessible while also making sure all the clinicians are getting a decent living wage. More so than
Absolutely.
that, actually.
More, yeah, and
Yeah.
likely more so than what insurance pays out these days.
Oh,
So,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
really important
so,
to me that my patients feel like no worries about their bills and they can show up and
mhm,
be their best self for their clients.
so they're not waiting, 3 to 6 months for payment to
Yeah,
maybe show up. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you so as a group, I mean, there's something you mentioned earlier around, being there in within your community, and then by extension then supporting it as well through professional services. are there things that the group of you do to just kind of support one another and in the midst of all this to kind of go, we're under a great deal of weight here, given the social everything going on with that? Yeah.
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things. As a team, we have breakfast together once a week for about 2 hours and really just meet and collaborate and talk and just like, have that
Yeah.
and socials outside of work. But we like host a lot of community events that are not like therapy related, but just like networking happy hours or like queer happy hours or things like that that give like community spaces. And then, a big part of our we have three tenets to our values: collaboration, advocacy, and accessibility. And the advocacy piece of
Mhm.
things is we work a lot with meeting with different local politicians and making sure that we are letting them know what the queer community, what we're hearing from the queer community of
Mhm.
what we need, as well as working with different organizations in the area for pushing for better rights for our community. So we do a lot of lobbying and activism work as well.
Mhm. So you're really taking that whole mm, the idea that therapy isn't exclusive in the sense of it's not isolated. There is an
Yeah,
intersectional component to the fact that none of your clients exist in a vacuum.
correct. Yeah.
And if you're going to support their care and their betterment, their self discovery and so on, that means also then helping out, community wise, which talk about a lot of work needed on that.
Yeah, it definitely is, but it really, I think, aligns with or should align with all therapists' code of ethics, right? Of like, you can't
Mm,
just help the client in the therapy space for 45 minutes, 50 minutes a week if systems are actively working against them and to oppress them. So we need to also,
mm,
as therapists, be working against those systems and being a shield for those who don't have a voice or whose voice we're only hearing in a private space.
yeah. Well, it's a recognition that therapy is what we do,
Hmm.
but we're also human beings.
Hmm.
It's like we have more to do with our lives than just the job.
Yeah.
Insofar, it's a job. This is very much a anything in the service industry just has that extra level of
Yeah.
empathy, emotionality to it.
I think that's also the additional component that makes it special to have, like, our lived identities be part of the practice, right? Because it's
Mm,
self-disclosure right off the bat, which is like,
mhm.
everyone has their thoughts about that in the therapy space,
Right.
but because we are, like, open about that immediately, everyone knows what they're getting, and they also know that we're up against the same systems and oppression that they are and that there is that commonality there. And so it's a way of, like, really bonding before they even come in the space.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Well, it reminds me of so we're might be a couple of, I don't know, I'm probably a couple of years older, but remember at least some of the training, at the beginning, we were still into that whole like the therapist is a blank slate that you need to check
Right.
your personal thing at the door. And of course, after over time, we've all kind of realized that was bullshit. It's literally impossible to shut this off. Of course, you're
Yeah.
bringing yourself into the therapy space. I
Yeah.
mean, that was
I
one of
go
the
as far to say
gifts that
it's
Yalom noted.
harmful to do that.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
to tie into working with religious trauma, like, I
Mhm.
would not I can't you can't have religious trauma and then go work with a therapist who doesn't also have religious trauma. Like,
Mm.
otherwise, they have no idea.
Yeah. There's a limit, of
Mhm.
of what's gonna be discussed. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so with that, so obviously you have a book coming out, next year,
Yeah.
and Healing Sacred Wounds,
Mhm.
which is fun. Did you come up with that title? Or was that a
I
collaborative? Okay.
I did not.
Alright.
I didn't get a say in that, so
Okay. It's one of
it's
those
good.
things with publishers. It's like, yeah, thanks for your ideas. We've got
Yeah.
something to do with
Yeah,
marketing."
I think my, like,
So
working draft title was, From God to God Awful, which I think
I
still
mean,
had some
I
merit.
think that's got a good I like it. It's got a good ring to it. That definitely works. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I can also imagine a publisher being a little less than okay with it though. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I said it's a little too much.
Yeah, a little much. Yeah. Yeah. Still though, healing sacred. So what so what do you I mean, so what's your background then? Speaking of then, being able to speak to things that you've gone through, like where is the religious identity that I mean, I would imagine you've left behind as much as possible.
Yeah, so my parents met working at a evangelical hotline,
Mm.
and so they were
Okay.
yeah, that's how they met at 21, had me at
Uh-huh.
22, and, I spent the first, like, 10-ish years of my life in a cult down in, like, Southern Virginia with them
Mm.
that would, by some terms today, probably be in line with, like, Christian nationalism, but was just, like, deeply conservative, evangelical Christian at the time, very strict gender norms. As
Mm.
a female, I wasn't allowed to wear pants or cut my hair. It was very, like, handmade everything, no access to outside media except approved by leadership. So, whatever you can imagine the stereotypes are, it kind of fell along those lines, and that was extremely difficult, and obviously there was a lot of abuse and, oppression and infighting that
Mm.
occurred in it. Eventually, the, cult disbanded just from infighting within the leadership from my understanding, but I don't fully know the whys because I was so young at the time.
Mhm.
And my parents moved on to, like, join a mega church afterwards in the Covenant, sect, which
Oh,
is,
yep.
uh, also
Aware.
quite difficult,
Mm. Little
and
bit.
not far off, just larger.
Mhm.
And so that was then my next experience after that and that was actually in, like, Southern Maryland area.
Mm.
Uh, but when I graduated high school, I was out and, done and spent, most of my 20s trying to kind of figure out and decide for myself, like, who I am and what I believe and what that looks like. And some of that was in church and still trying to find spaces in churches and religions that felt that I could be part of it and be accepted. A lot of that had to do with my journey into queerness as well. I knew I was gay from a very young age, but I didn't have the exposure or understanding of, like, putting a word on it. The first time
Mhm.
I heard I was a lesbian, I was 6 years old, and my pastor was yelling it at my dad, saying in the cult, saying, like, "Oh, because you're a weak man of faith, your daughter's gonna be a lesbian." And I was like, "Oh, no, what is that? Sounds scary." But turns out it's pretty great, actually.
Yeah.
But
It's like,
took me a
actually,
while to get there. Took
yeah.
me a while to make that leap. And so, in my late 20s, I met a man, and we are both queer, and we were best
Mm.
friends, and chose to have a family together. And we raised our kids about, like, a block apart, and we were in church at the time when we met, and tried to, like, um, have that family within a church
Mhm.
space and see if that was something we could do. But when I finally told the church, like, I wasn't bisexual, I was actually, like, a lesbian, and I was going to
Mhm.
be living, more authentically going forward, they held a prayer circle for my, kid's dad that, he would be healed after the trauma of being with a partnered with a lesbian, and, it was awful, and they didn't allow me to come back, and so, of course, he left too, and we all left the church, and that's the last time I've stepped foot in a church. In
Hmm.
terms of what do I believe now or who I am now, religiously or spiritually, I don't know. And
Mm.
my book is not meant to, like, tell anyone what to believe. I don't think beliefs traumatize you. I think people traumatize you and oppressive systems traumatize you. There are ways to be spiritual or religious in ways that don't hurt other people. I haven't necessarily had those experiences myself, but I believe it exists. There's a section in the book that talks about, like, how do you want to work on deconstructing and getting out? But also, if you don't, how do you work on staying in the most healthy way possible? A lot of the resources that I found out there when I was trying to figure myself out all focused on deconstructing, and I wasn't there or ready for that yet.
Right.
And so I really want to create more resources and spaces for those who are choosing not to deconstruct for whatever reason and who want
Mhm.
to stay with the religious community or religious space, but to do so in a way that's healthier and doesn't perpetuate harm or ideologies that are harmful to next generations.
Mhm. No, 100%. Well, that's, it's a conversation I get into frequently, with people around, like, religion itself is somehow this harm, and I'm like, religion's not a thing. It's a label for a lot of disparate practices. Some of them are truly atrocious, and some of them are like, who cares about rituals? Like, all right,
Yeah.
what are you getting out of it? What is it inspiring in you? And does it help feed that, frankly, human impulse to still belong and have family and community and so on? I mean, there's been a
Yeah.
long history of humanism, even within Christianity. It
Yeah.
obviously is not ascendant right now here in the States, but it's still
Agree.
there. You can go back and read some
Yeah.
stuff that nowadays the nationalists would say they're not real Christians for daring to say it. And some of them were early church fathers, so to speak. I mean, it's just like, okay, shoot.
I
So,
also think it's like a really privileged statement to demand people deconstruct. Like there are
mm,
entire towns and communities that are completely built around a church and that people do not have the ability to leave that. And
mhm,
so to say that they don't have any other options or they're doing the wrong thing is just, I think it's just privilege, frankly. And so I think that we need to
yeah.
be able to have healthy ways that people can stay in those communities and
Mhm,
do so in a way that doesn't hurt themselves or other people.
yep. No. Well, and I think that's where the kind of guiding principle behind some things like the Clergy Project being one of them. It's
Yeah.
like they recognize you have families, you have
Mhm.
careers, you have bills to pay. Like,
Yep.
this is how do you navigate and just say, well, properly, you should just leave. And it's like, come on, this is not that simple for people who, everywhere. I mean, this
Yeah.
is, shoot, some of them literally their degrees do not transfer anywhere. It's
Yep.
not like they went to an accredited university sometimes. Like, this is literally all they know. And, and it's a privilege to be able to say, oh, well, I've got all these resources. Well, not everybody does.
Yeah.
So
I think
where
that
do we
comes up
meet
in the
them?
queer community a lot because,
Mm,
if somebody's family is not accepting of them, which unfortunately is so common, the number one thing you hear is, "Well, we'll cut them out. Don't ever talk to them again." And it's like, okay, well, it's really not that easy. And some people still
no.
rely on their family for practical things and financial things, but also just like family or community
Hmm.
or emotional support or other things. And it's just, I just think any sort of black and white thinking like that is, perpetuated within religion and other spaces too. Any sort of high demand, high control, any organization
Hmm.
like that perpetuates that black and white thinking. And so pushing beyond that and using our critical thinking skills to really focus on what lies in between and how can we find nuance in each of these scenarios,
Hmm.
that's basically doing religious trauma work.
Yeah. No, I I will have to say that is the first time I've come across that in somebody else,
Oh,
which is that focus on functionality and the
yeah.
recognition. Wait a minute, there are some real things that need to be handled, and not all of us have, frankly, the luxury of being able to move on whenever we damn well please. Like, there
Yeah.
are limits to, well, reality that we have to still struggle with, and how do we reach and support the people that don't have as many choices as others,
Yeah.
might do? So, nah, it's great work. Great work.
Thank you.
What so looking back then, so is there, I don't want to or have you describe the entire book because obviously we want people to pre-order and order it when it comes out. But is there then a central theme that you're trying to get across as far as like, hey, this is the message? Is that is it more along or aligned with, I guess, with that kind of functional question, or what are you hoping to address?
So I'm hoping to address maybe more of a beginner's look at like religious trauma and understanding the
Mm,
different impacts that that has. I want it to be something that can be read by anyone at any stage in development and learning, and
hmm.
still have pieces of information that everyone can absorb or grow from. So, there's like some introduction to the concept in general and what that looks like. And I often view religious trauma through like a complex PTSD lens as a therapist.
Mm,
And so there's some discussion around that and what that looks like. I also do a lot of talk about like attachment styles and
mhm,
what it looks like to have the impact of religion and religious, specifically high demand, high control religions on relationships and attachment going forward, right? And, God as that original attachment anchor in a disorganized
mm,
attachment way and what that can do to somebody's then relationships going forward. I do a lot of talk, I have a chapter on purity culture and modesty morality. Of course, you have to have that. And there's a topic of parenting and different things like that. A lot of practicing what is what the concept of obedience has done to removing critical thinking skills and that development throughout life. And so it's kind of like a broad overview of a lot of different parts of religious trauma with some there's a lot of like exercises and things people can practically do throughout it,
Hmm.
as prompts and thought exercises. I have a lot of like case vignettes and stories in there as well to just add some more of narrative work to it. So it's a little bit of everything.
Nice. Okay. So there's something there you said around, the concept anyway, particularly of God as the original disorganized attachment.
Mhm.
For those who might not know what all that, how are you framing that? What is that?
Well,
What does that
so
mean?
I love attachment style work. It's what I do a
Okay.
lot, particularly in couples therapy. I work with a lot of attachment.
Hmm.
And so there are three types of insecure attachment styles. And then, of course, the fourth is the secure. But insecure ones are anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. And
Hmm.
disorganized is just anxious and avoidant mixed together. And so the concept of disorganized attachment only solely comes out of childhood trauma, right? Because it is the concept of the the caregiver or the figurehead in your life, the attachment anchor in your life, is the one who gave you the most safety, security, supported you, shelter, food, all the things you needed came from this person or being. And also, they're the biggest source of fear in your life at the same time, right? And the message of God is someone who loves you, God is someone who accepts you as you are. He made you in his image. You are beautiful to him. Your body is a temple. Everything about you is loved by him. And he's angry and fire and brimstone and you're
Hmm.
going to go to hell and if you upset him, all et cetera, right? It's the entire premise of it teaches disorganized attachment and teaches children from a very young age love is fear. And so
Hmm.
then you grow up and you end up having all of these chaotic relationships continuing as you whether it's with your family or other people, but certainly in terms of like romantic relationships and other things, it has just such a huge impact.
So, when it comes to attachment in particular, and I love the way you frame that because it's that, like you said, the source of love and affection and care and resources. And given that we are at core biological creatures, we're
Mhm.
looking for that consistency. We want to know that when I do A, I'm going to be held into B and C and down the road so that there's some kind of support structure. And from the sound of it, what you're saying is that disorganized felt sense is that sense where it does at any given moment I could have this ripped out from me
Yep.
because there's that duality going on of love and fear,
Mhm.
that the fear could suddenly show up. And if God is the originator of all things that are, right and good and pure, we don't get a say in it, certainly. So literally, he could, if he it whatever says so. What recourse do we have? Certainly not our reason. Certainly
None.
not any sense of.
Yeah, you're told to act in ways to, like, add jewels to your crown in heaven and things like that,
Hmm.
but also told you're one sin away from hell. So, like,
Right. Yep.
what do you do?
Yeah. Right. Well, and there's, I mean, I can, so Bible college trained, left it, left religion right in the middle of it. So I'm hearing the rejoinder of like, well, there's this thing called eternal security. And it's like, well, yeah, but even within that, there was also that added component of whether or not you were in alignment with God's plan for your life.
Mhm.
And there it is. I mean, that's that constant fear and uncertainty of going, if I deviate,
Yeah,
in fact, deviation, deviant, it's like you are this contrary thing
yeah,
to the benevolence
yeah,
that is deity. And how dare you
yeah.
be anything other? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and attachment style starts in youth, right? Like as young as
Hmm.
18 months is when that is developed. And if you think about it, like we're not taught in childhood about those bigger principles. We don't have
Mm.
the ability to understand it. We're taught Noah's Ark, you either got in the boat or you were killed. The entire country or world was killed, right? You're taught like
Hmm.
lion's den, you were thrown into a den of lions and then also saved, or you're thrown into a fire pit, but don't worry, you didn't burn. Like, I mean,
Yep.
that's a very
Oh no.
confusing message for children.
Hmm. What Job? I always
Yeah,
loved how that was portrayed.
loved
I was like,
so much to put him through torture.
right. Yes, I get you are an ant and I am I am the magnifying glass. Like, and as
Yeah,
long as you question literally anything, you can question your family, you can question who you are, you can question society, but you
yep,
question me, and the burn is coming. Like,
yep,
it's talk about destabilizing. Absolutely.
yeah. So if that's the foundation that then you're raised in, you can learn all the principles you want later, but if you don't go back and do the safety work sabbatically and in your
Mhm.
body to, like, feel safe and grounded in the present, in who you are, and not constantly looking to, like, "Oh, no, what's gonna happen or what did I do?"
Mhm.
There's just so much healing work that needs to happen, and that's the goal of the
Yeah,
book is hopefully to start that healing journey for people or continue to help them along it.
yeah. So what do you in your practice then, in connection with that specifically, are there generally a couple of themes or topics that people tend to dwell on or have predominant issues? I mean, obviously, there's everybody's different, but yeah,
Sure. Well, I mean, everyone in our practice kind of specializes in different things. And for me, one of
mm,
mine is religious trauma. So the clients who come to me for that, are usually within the queer community. And so the overlapping theme, while, of course, there are many, the big one is that their identity and who they are and who they love is sinful, right? And
mhm,
trying to make sense of that dichotomy is extremely difficult. Sometimes it can also mean a loss of like community as well, right? Not necessarily by them deconstructing and leaving, but if they choose to come out, they could lose everything, right? Like when I came
right,
out, my family doesn't speak with me anymore either. So it's like it's a big theme for people in who are have been within a religious setting or have religious family and then have to figure out how to add their sexuality or gender diversity to it and still be accepted or not. So that's definitely a big theme I see within my practice. I specifically do a religious trauma group, 12-week
mm,
support group and process group. And the reason that I do that is because I believe that what is broken in groups can be healed in groups.
mm,
And that sense of community that is lost in leaving a religion or trying to figure that out can be repaired by finding community that allows you to heal together at the same time. And so I'm just a huge proponent for group therapy in these types of scenarios. Um, and I also train other therapists in how to do that and what that looks like in religious trauma work. So I've seen
nice.
particularly the group approach work really, really well with this population.
What I love how you put that, like, because if you go back to that attachment style, it's like
Yeah.
that conjoining of love and fear, love and
Mhm.
insecurity. Where are we going to find how to relearn and disconnect those two things?
Yeah.
It's going to be found not in some kind of, you know, intellectualizing of the whole thing. You have to live
Yeah.
the experience of, oh, you mean I can be appreciated? I can
Yeah.
be loved and not
Yep.
have this thing happen that I was taught?
Mhm.
Oh, well, okay. Well, if that's true, then I guess
Yeah.
I can keep going with this.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Attachment styles are only healed in relationships, right? Like that's
Hmm.
the way to do it. And that usually it can be in the relationship with a therapist, but it can also be in the relationship with a person who happens to be securely attached. But in a group therapy setting, it can be really helpful because you get those relationships within that help to create that as well.
Excellent. Okay. I have a reinvigorated, desire for group therapy, because it
Love
found to be,
crazy. I love it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
how did you put it right there as far as how do it's within the group. Yes, you can have that, healing process within a therapist, you can have it with somebody else, but we're social creatures.
Mhm.
I mean, we'd like just indelibly being. That's why religion was enticing in the first place.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
of course, we're not going to get rid of this. And
Yep.
that's back to that privilege point as well, then,
Yeah.
of being able to go, wait, let's work within what is already needed.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
feel
the
that
work
for
that can be
people
done.
who aren't, like, who don't even have a religious background, right? Like, your first group
Mhm,
is your family, right? And so if
mhm.
you have, like, family childhood traumas or family issues, and your first group is your family, group therapy can really help you recreate and redo and rewrite your own narrative going forward. It can be really powerful.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So, what is one thing? Because again, we want people to buy the book. We want people to engage in the services. But what is one practice that you found that is helpful then for people beyond obviously the group work? But is there something individually then that they go on and work maybe with groups, but also with themselves to be able to say this is helpful?
I think, the biggest, source of healing is, the mind-body connection, really, like, I
Mm,
mean, when we are told to believe doctrine and in a high demand, high control setting, we are repeatedly told to ignore our bodies, right? Like, literally deny yourself,
mhm,
ignore your flesh, like, do all those things. It's the message we're heard so often, and until you reconnect and rejoin your body and start to listen to your body a, as its own doctrine in some way,
mhm.
then healing is really hard to do, right? So I think that is the most important thing is like you need to get back into your body and listening to your body and valuing your body.
Love it. So, I mean, man, the sky's the limit on that
Yeah.
because because it really one, yes. I mean, shoot, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite verses when I was a believer was like, "It's no longer I who live, but
Mhm.
Christ who lives in me." And it's like, talk about a complete denial of
Yeah.
literally. I mean, scourging of the flesh was a common practice back, early in Catholic years, and still does.
Yep.
That kind of Lent is basically like, this is a bad thing.
Yep.
Everything of who we are is bad. And we
Yeah.
need to deny it. We need to move on from it. We need to remove it because the best thing that we can do is to become that purely spiritual self, whatever the hell that
Yeah.
means. And absolutely getting back in touch with it. So what are a couple of practices then? I mean, is that like shoot, I mean, everything from self pleasure to enjoying what it is to just literally perhaps even just touch grass. I mean, shoot, why
Yeah.
not?
I mean, I love the phrase touch grass. I think that that has a lot of power to it. I think starting small, like breathing exercises and being in
Mhm,
your body is really important. I think mindfulness of like really focusing on your senses, in the
mm,
moment, like, even if you're, eating a bite of food, like, really focusing on all 5 senses in that moment, trying as much just bring yourself to the present, that can certainly be done through physical means as well, exercise, sex, like, going on a walk, touching, hugging other people, anything like that can absolutely help as well, but also really like listening to cues that your body is giving
mm,
you, right? Like if you're feeling something, in your stomach or your chest or a tightness, like really paying attention to like, wait, why am I feeling this? Am I having a reaction? Some sort of stimuli in my environment is like making my chest tighten. Why? Like, am I upset about something? And then giving value to that, right? Of like, oh, if I'm having this reaction of discomfort and my chest tightening, I'm going to value that and say something here is making me uncomfortable and I'm going to choose to honor that and walk away.
nice. Absolutely. And that's back to that somatic work you mentioned,
Mhm.
which then combines with basically a mindful awareness,
Yep.
just being
Yeah.
present. Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of time, like, it is not
Hmm.
like riding a bike or anything like that, it's like building a brand new muscle. It takes
Hmm.
time.
Yep. I, yes, it does. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and there are things you can do immediate, but it's still like it is a practice.
It
And
is a
like any
practice.
practice,
You're
you
building a
have
muscle,
to.
literally, you're rewiring your
Mhm,
brain, like, you're using neuroplasticity to create brand new neural pathways, like, that
mhm,
takes time.
absolutely. Yeah. And just because and I can again hear that kind of like, oh, if an old thought comes up or an old sensation or that self-judgment, it's easy to then believe, wait a minute, I've slipped back to use a religious idea, like I've backslidden. And it's like, no, you have moved on. It's just that old habits take a while to
Well, yeah.
get not necessarily removed, but perhaps paved over
Yeah.
increasingly with time.
I like to visualize it to clients as instead of moving on, that it's expanding. Like if you think of
Mm,
your life as like a pie, that piece of your pie has gotten so much smaller now that you have added so much more to your life and your understanding and your awareness. But that piece of pie has never gone away. Like it doesn't get removed. Like you didn't forget
mhm,
those experiences and what you went through. But you now have so many more options that that piece is no longer the default. So I consider like growth to be expanding versus
mm,
removing.
mhm. Nope, love it. And now I want some pie. But yeah,
It's almost
yeah.
Thanksgiving, so here you go.
It is almost Thanksgiving, like, why not? Yeah. My
Yeah,
grandmother had a pumpkin pie recipe, so, have to go there. So,
yeah,
awesome. I alright, now I really want your book to come out, because 'cause I'm very much interested here. Um, while we're waiting for that, and we, of course, I'm making a judgment about everybody else who's gonna be waiting for this. Where can people find you? Obviously, you've got, some social media stuff going on.
yeah. So on social media, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at
Mhm.
SCNealy, SCNEALY. And then you can also visit my website, lgbtcounselingdmv.com, and book links will be posted there when they are ready.
Awesome. And I will definitely put all of those links everywhere where this conversation goes. So that'll be good. Well, as well. And for
Yeah.
that matter, given the fact your book comes out next fall,
Mhm.
I'm thinking might have to have another conversation
Yeah.
and kind of go through that
Yeah.
because that's
Absolutely.
going to be on the short list then. That'll be
Thank you.
fun.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Uh, Thank you for I had no idea where this conversation was going to go. I never do. It's why it's so fun. But this has been great. I love the work you're doing,
Thank
and
you so much.
especially where you're doing it, and everything that gets involved in that. So, eh, shoot, I hope it's not patronizing to say keep up because that's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it.
And
It's
thanks so
great
much
to
for having
see.
me.
Yeah, absolutely. We will do this again, and I guess to everybody, go out and have some pie. Go and enjoy.